and gentlemen, President Donald J. Trump.
Despite not being a candidate in 2022, Donald Trump is the most influential voice in the Republican Party. But is he still the most powerful?
Many Republicans may privately wish it were not so, but there's no stronger, more potent, more powerful leader of the Republican Party right now than former President Donald Trump.
If you look at how the party responds to not just his endorsement and his support, but also to the various controversies that continue to surround Trump, it reinforces that they recognize their path to the future runs through him, is on his terms, and it's very much unavoidable that they need to be his party, at least for the foreseeable future. You really only need to look at what happened after January 6th, where many of them denounced him, had harsh words for him.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters.
Within weeks or months, backed off that completely, started defending him.
I don't believe he provoked if you listen to what he said at the rally.
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, you have to look at the Mar-a-Lago documents case, where we saw the party, Donald Trump's party, almost instantaneously leap to defending him, to vouching for him, without really knowing anything about what he might have done at that point.
The FBI raid of President Trump is a complete abuse and overreach of its authority.
Donald Trump's grip is real. And in fact, it's a toll you have to pay to exist in the Republican Party to say that the election was stolen, to get Donald Trump's endorsement.
Sarah Longwell is a Republican political strategist and founder of the Republican Accountability Project.
Our hope was that there would be a lot more Republicans who would be looking for accountability from Donald Trump. But of course, that's not what happened. Those people who sort of buck the party orthodoxy on election denialism, they're being sort of summarily cast out of the party.
But for some candidates, the pro-Trump rhetoric is noticeably less present heading into November than it was in the primaries. Candidates have scrubbed or amended references of Trump from their online profiles in recent months.
This isn't like a normal election pivot, because they have had to go so far to extremes, so far into the election denialism to ensure for the base that they are Trumpy enough to be trusted, that they get to a general election and many of them don't know how to turn it off.
There's very few, if any, you can point to who are coming out and really publicly taking Trump on. It's one thing not to say the MAGA part anymore, the Trump part or the election denial part anymore. It's another thing to really come out and say, Donald Trump is wrong. It was a free and fair election, and we need to accept the results. You're not seeing a ton of that still.
Even if the party attempts to move from him, does Trump still have command over voters? In a Washington Post ABC News poll, less than half of respondents who identified as Republican said they wanted to see Donald Trump nominated in 2024. About the same percentage as said they did not.
He does not own the party totally and completely, but he does own the base of the party. But there's sort of a bigger group of people that are interested in looking beyond Trump. These are people who will absolutely vote for him if he's the nominee and he runs again.
They like, for instance, the 3 Supreme Court justices, the conservative justices he appointed to the court. They like his position on immigration. They like his position on trade. What they don't like is sort of the relentless chaos and controversy.
That's when you actually get Trump voters saying, like Trump, fine with Trump, but what about Ron DeSantis? What about Kristi Noem? What about Mike Pompeo? They have these other people whose profiles interest them.
A New York Times Siena College poll shows that 45% of Americans regard Trump as a major threat to democracy, while just 28% say the same of the GOP. Is it Trump the candidate or Trump the movement that holds the true influence over the Republican Party?
Trump the person may lose altitude, potentially with voters, but Trump, sort of the phenomenon that's been unleashed on the party, that is not going anywhere. And that is really voters kind of craving this combative style of politics. They want fighters. One of the things that happened with Trump is he really desensitized voters, and people have started to respond to that and like that and see that as the kind of charisma that they're looking for in a candidate. There's this force that's been unleashed on the party. Until the Republican Party decides to push him over, he will remain at the center.